And call tonight's meeting. We're going to call tonight's meeting to order. Will you please rise and join me in the pledge to our flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, let the record show there were no action. First of all, let the record show that all board members are present and accounted for, and there were no actions taken in closed session. Also would like to adopt the agenda with two changes, removing action items J and K.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. All right, now we'll move on to public comment. Here we go. All right, members of the public may address the Board of Trustees regarding any special board meeting agenda item during a board consideration of that item. Please note that if you wish to address the Board of Trustees on an agenda item, you should wait until that specific item is called by the board president. If you would like to speak to the board, please, to comment in person, please fill out a request to be heard card and give it to the board assistant. Your name will be called during the public comment agenda item or during the specified agenda item. Comments are limited to 2 minutes. If you are watching online, you can either submit via Assembly Gamut Meetings, enter your name and email address, and the board assistant will provide your comment to the board. If you're watching on YouTube and you want to comment that way, just comment in the live chat, and the board assistant or superintendent will share your comment with the board as appropriate. Now, this is also a time where you can address the board on an item that is not on the agenda. Please note that because it is not an agendized item that we can't take action on it, but please know that we are listening and we'll do our best to be able to resolve your situation, if not during this meeting, at a later time. Is there anyone who would like to address the board on an item that is not on the agenda? And we'll give folks online an opportunity to comment. Any comments? Okay. With that, then we will move on. Now we're going to move on to reports. We'll start with the Robla Education Foundation.
And I'm pleased to report that we're still looking for more volunteers from the fireworks fleet. As a result of the fireworks fleet from last year, 4 of the people here in this room this evening got to enjoy our young students at the strings concert at Sac State. And due to the plethora of reports that we're going to go through tonight, I'm done. Oh, except for one thing. Congratulations to whoever did it without me having to instigate it for the name switches.
Okay. Moving on to Robla Teachers Association. CSEA? Seeing none, we'll move on to Superintendent's Report.
Good evening. This week we are celebrating Staff Appreciation Week. Last week was the official California and National Day of the Teacher, and next week is the official week to celebrate our classified employees. So this week we are celebrating both. So I want to officially thank all our staff for their dedication and hard work to our Robla community. And I want to give a special shout out to our food and nutrition services who is preparing the lunch each day this week. Really, really good. I was in Washington, D.C. a couple weeks ago, maybe last week or the week before, for the EAB Superintendent's Roundtable. It was a really great event. The first day focused on building high-performing districts, and the second day focused on generative AI. So I'm excited to bring a couple pieces back that we can implement next year. I too was at the Monday Spring Strings concert at Sac State. It was wonderful. We have such talented students, so I'm super excited that they are able to take advantage of this opportunity. Today at Main Avenue was the first of 3 soccer tournaments. It was super hot out there, but it was exciting. It was very, very exciting. And I think Ms. Hall shared that Bell went 2-0. I don't know. So I'm looking at Ms. Rodriguez. Did Glenwood also go 2-0? No, okay. So the next tournament is next Thursday, and the final one is 2 Thursdays from now, the 30th. We have 3 more AAPI lunch concerts. So tomorrow we'll be at Robla, next Friday at Taylor, and then the final performance is on Thursday, May 30th at Maine. And then finally, all the open houses, Taylor, Glenwood, Bell, and Robla will be next Thursday, May 23rd. And then Maine's will be on June 5th. Thank you.
Now we'll move on to board member reports. Trustee Devine. Oh, wait, one more.
I apologize. Mr. Castillo is going to give a quick budget update during my presentation. I apologize.
No mouse. And just keep moving.
As he's preparing, I want to say the governor's board workshop is next Tuesday, offered by school services, but we have been getting some information, and I thought it was important that Ms. Castillo gives us a little bit information.
We will know all the details for the 3.5 hours workshop next Tuesday, but here's a summary. We have received information from these 5 different sources and more. So this is a summary of what I think is important for the board to know in the community. So this is where we are right now. So the most important thing I think is the cost of living adjustment is set up at 1.07. So it's significant. I'd say significant because it's more than 1% compared to the January, but even worse, a lot worse than the enacted budget of 3.94. So our budget will be done in the local control funding formula based on 1.07%. All our programs that usually get COLA will get except for the state preschool. The state preschool is not, so that was one of the governor's big TK and preschool promotions, but he's putting the pause in preschool. So a little bit more detail. So it's not just so before it was about trying to do less, but right now it's stop. So that's the new proposal for child development.
Wait, can you go back?
Yes.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. Let me go. How do I go back? So there was a funding for GROW, expected number of students allowed for the SLAS at each of the preschool programs. So that has stopped. So pretty much we expect the same amount of funding that we received from last year per student. And also it was projecting to increase in the following 2 years. And at that point in time, he said he's stopping the portion, including the portion for the special education at the preschool level. Our facilities, this is an item that we did a lot of research because we have 2 programs, as we know, is the Bell Avenue TK and also Main Avenue for TK programs. As of this point, those programs will continue because those were they were approved based on the previous year and on this year budget. But in the future, they also, again, these projects are being, I use the word eliminated in there because they are not being reduced, they are being eliminated for the future. And you would think about it as how is the state when we do have all of this, they had this cash flows issue, significant less revenues from taxes. How are they continue funding education? And so they had two main fund, what they call it, daily run funds for general fund and also for Proposition 88, specific for education. And the proposition is he's using all of their fund balance for 24, 25. Again, you notice in January he was using about a half, but right now he's saying we're using all the fund balance. So it's really the question for us is we think about it, what will happen for the following year, 25, 26. This continue. Usually when the economy goes down or it's a few years in they happen. So as a reminder for all of us, the governor does his proposal and the legislature had to consider the proposals and they had to approve the budget by June 15. Since if they don't approve the budget, they don't get paid. So since that happened, usually we have received an approved budget by the deadline. But we will have we will present the budget to the board before the June 15, because that's our first board meeting in June is prior to that. That's a summary where we are in the main revise, and we will know more details next week.
Do we know if tax revenue, because we know one of the reasons why the shortfall seems to be increasing is because revenues aren't what they expected. Do we know if the actual revenues received or deficit is closer to what the governor thought it would be, or whether it was closer to what the legislative analyst office thought it would be?
Yeah, that's a good question. But yeah, so it depends who you talk to. that's what I say. But it started when the taxes were extended from April 15 last year to November. So we have a domino effect from since that year. So I don't know the answer yet, but it's just kind of so.
Who do you talk to?
Say that again.
Who do you talk to?
So we received we have through the county office, we received the school districts in at least in Sacramento County what they call the common message, where they need to approve the budget on the same assumptions that they give us in the School Service of California. So we get a message from them, and we will do the budget based on those assumptions. So that way, when they grade us, that is like we're comparing it, we're using the same assumptions. So they are not my assumptions. They are part of the collection of many different.
Okay. Well, thank you for such a funny report. Also, thank you for going to in these 3.5 hour sessions and boiling it down to something that's manageable for us. It's much appreciated.
That's all. You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we'll move on to board member reports. We'll start with Trustee Devine.
Nothing at this time.
Okay, Trustee Cardona.
I had the opportunity to share with Glenwood's school yesterday the lunch with the appreciation for the staff. I'd like to thank you to the nutrition department. The food was great and was really enjoyable. Also, I had the opportunity to be part of the concert of a Robla School and Sac State, and I like to appreciate Mr. Raven for the wonderful job they're doing to engage the kids. So with this enrichable programs that we have over there, thank you for that.
Trustee Hamilton Stark.
Nothing at this time.
Trustee Barnes.
Two things. Superintendent Chen and I were able to participate in the Labor Management Institute, reinstituted with our 2 union leaders, and it was the first time since Superintendent Chen became superintendent. It was very productive and showed exactly why we should actually have one, because there were lots of things brought up. and I'm looking forward to it. And if anyone else wants to participate on the board, I'll definitely give you more information. Not in the intro, but it was very productive, and I really enjoyed it. Other thing, the delegate assembly meets this week. It's my first time. I'm looking forward to it. This weekend, I should say, and it's my first time. I'm looking forward to it. So you'll get a report later on from that.
All right. Two things. One, the California School Board Association Delegate Assembly is going to be held this weekend. It'll be held in Sacramento. It's held every May. It's usually held here in Sacramento, so that's always interesting. We'll have an opportunity to probably hear a lot more detail about, at least from the school board members' perspective, on the budget. Want to welcome, looking forward to Ken joining me on Delegate Assembly as a representative or a member of Region 6. And then also, so 2 weekends ago, the board had an opportunity to get together with our superintendent, and we had a leadership team. We had a membership retreat. It was phenomenal, and I just want to thank California School Boards Association and Luann for just doing a phenomenal job. And I really appreciate it. It was an opportunity for us to come together. And when I say retreat, we did it here in the boardroom. But it was an opportunity for us to really kind of come together, take a look at our mission, opportunity for us to take a look at some of our policies, and really kind of get in touch with one another, get to know where everyone else is at in terms of what we're looking forward to going forward as a part of the leadership team, understand how each other works even better. And it's something that it seems like we're on a roll now. We do it every 3 years, and it is always a blessing. So I want to thank the board members who gave of their time. You already give so much of your time, but you gave of your time to be able to participate in that, and our superintendent. And anyway, it was time that was well invested. And with that, we're going to go ahead and move on to let's see where we are. Oh, we're going to move on to recognition. Oh, there we go. Keep passing those down.
Okay, hold on. Oh, each one is a set.
Yeah, each one is a set.
I mean, we have to.
Each one is a set.
Oh, there you go.
What's that? Set for you,
Pass it.
set for me.
There you go.
Got it.
Got it. Okay. All right. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to recognize Mental Health Awareness Month. And hold on. Where is it? Here we go. We're going to present and adopt resolution number 910, Mental Health and Awareness Month. Whereas the month of May has been designated as National Mental Health Awareness Month in the United States since 1949 by the Mental Health America Organization, and
whereas mental health is essential to everyone's overall health and well-being, and children, youth, and adults can recover from mental illness and lead full and productive lives in the community, and
whereas a focus on prevention and early intervention efforts could greatly reduce the number of children experiencing serious mental health conditions, and
Whereas the Robla School District recognized parents and family members have made invaluable contribution through their commitment, care, and advocacy for treatment of individuals with mental health concerns, and
whereas the Robla School District reviews its pledge to continually assess and improve the range of educational services provided to meet the varying needs of our students with mental health concerns, and
now therefore be it resolved that the Robla School District does hereby proclaim May as Mental Health Awareness Month and recommits our educational community to increasing awareness and understanding of mental health, the steps our children, youth, and adults can take to protect their mental health, and the need for appropriate and accessible services for all people, especially children and youth with mental health concerns. And with that, I will entertain a motion to adopt.
So moved.
second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries unanimously. Passed out and adopted by the governing board of the Robla School District on the 16th of May, 2024. Okay, next we're going to present and adopt resolution number 911 in recognition of classified school employees. Whereas the diligent efforts and unwavering dedication of classified school employees contribute significantly to the success of our educational institutions, and
Whereas April 21 to 27 marks Administrative Professionals Week, and April 24 specifically commemorates Administrative Professionals Day, a time to honor the administrative staff whose organizational skills and efficiency keep our schools running smoothly, and
Whereas April 23rd is designated as School Bus Driver Appreciation Day, recognizing the commitment and care demonstrated by our bus drivers in safely transporting students to and from school each day. And
Whereas April 29th to May 3rd celebrates School Nutrition Employee Week, acknowledging the essential role of the school nutrition staff in ensuring the students have access to a nutritious meal to support their growth and learning. And
Whereas May 19th to 25th is Classified School Employees Week, a time dedicated to honoring the diverse array of classified staff members who work tirelessly behind the scenes to enrich the educational experience for students.
therefore be it resolved that the Robla School Board of hereby expresses our deepest appreciation to all classified school employees for their unwavering dedication, hard work, and commitment to the well-being and success of our students. And therefore further resolved that the Robla School Board encourages all members of the school community to take this opportunity to recognize and thank classified school employees for their exceptional contributions to our educational mission. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adopt.
So moved.
second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. This resolution passed and adopted by the governing board of the Robla School District on the 16th of May, 2024. Okay, now we're going to present and adopt resolution number 912 in recognition of certificated employees.
So moved. Sorry.
Do a motion at the end. There
Sorry,
you go.
my bad.
Whereas certificated employees play a vital role in the education and development of our students, embodying dedication, passion, and expertise in their respective fields, and
Whereas May 6th through 10th is designated as National Teacher Appreciation Week, a time to honor and recognize the invaluable contributions of teachers to the education and well-being of our students, and
whereas May 7th is celebrated as National Teacher Appreciation Day, providing an opportunity for our community to express gratitude to teachers for their dedication, hard work, and unwavering commitment to student success. And
whereas May 8th is observed as California Day of the Teacher, a day set aside to recognize the significant role of the educator play in shaping the future of our state by inspiring and empowering students to reach their full potential. And
Whereas May 8th is also designated as National School Nurse Day, highlighting the crucial role school nurses play in promoting student health, safety, and well-being, and their contributions to creating a nurturing and supportive school environment. And
whereas May 18th is recognized as National Speech Pathologist Day, an opportunity to acknowledge the vital role speech pathologists play in helping students overcome communication challenges and reach their academic and personal goals.
therefore be it resolved that the Robla School Board acknowledges and expresses deep appreciation to all certificated employees, including teachers, school nurses, and speech pathologists, for their tireless dedication, professionalism, and passion for the education and welfare of our students. And be it further resolved that the Robla School Board encourages all members of the school community to take this opportunity to thank certificated employees for their outstanding contributions and to show appreciation for their commitment to excellence in education. I will entertain a motion to approve this resolution or adopt this resolution.
So moved.
It's been moved in second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. This resolution is passed and adopted by the governing school board of the Robla School District on the 16th of May, 2024. All right, and we will now move on to presentations and information, and we'll start with a facilities update.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, Superintendent Chen, good evening. My name is Gerald Schober. I'm Vice President of Implementation Services with Caldwell Flores and Winters, and I'm here tonight to give you a brief update on the 3 projects that we have currently under management and within the district. The first project is the Bell Avenue Preschool TK project, and this evening we are going to talk about just quick update on where we're at. So request for proposals for what we call professional services. Next slide. Thank you. For the surveying, the DTSC, which stands for the Department of Toxic Substances Controls consultant, the CEQA consultant, and the geotechnical engineer have been issued. Proposals were received on the 14th, so we'll be bringing forward recommendations for award at the next meeting. The project schedule and transition plan are being finalized in conjunction with a weekly meeting with Superintendent Chen in attendance, also Chief Business Official Castillo is in attendance, and we're looking forward to getting that project started. We have some interim work that needs to be done, but we're delaying the actual start of construction until after school gets out on the 14th. We're redoing a couple of designs. Licensing is requiring some additional bathrooms, so that's not going to affect DSA approval. It will not require additional, it's called a construction change directive. It's a CCD. It's not going to necessitate any changes with DSA, and it will not incur any additional costs. It's just allowing you to get the licensing as required, because Sacramento has some different requirements where staff has to have a bathroom in each of the classrooms where it's serviceable. And in addition, each classroom is required to have 2 bathrooms that are specific to that classroom, as opposed to a conjoined or shared bathroom where 2 classrooms could actually share with that. So that's kind of a change in the layout, but that's being fleshed out right now and completed. Any questions on the TK project?
I have a question. So just for clarification, requests for proposals for surveyor, DTSC, and CEQA just went out and we're going for June approval?
No, they have been received.
The reports or the consulting contracts?
The contracts, we have them all and they are ready to go. They'll be brought for award.
So, but we,
No, I have to apologize. That
Okay.
is for the central kitchen. It's for the central kitchen in Maine. These are already in place. They're being brought tonight before the board.
so let me ask another clarifying question. That first bullet should be for central kitchen.
It should be for the central kitchen, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so,
As well as Maine Avenue.
okay. So we have a surveyor and the consultants for DTS, CEQA for
All of
Bell
them-
and TK.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And we have the CEQA report for Bell and TK.
The CEQA purchase order was issued out on May 6th, so he is just beginning his report. He prepares that report. It takes about 30 days to get it. And then before you, similar to those resolutions you had, that resolution has to be brought before the board. It has to be by unanimous verdict or unanimous passing, and then it is filed with the county, and then that filing then becomes the official, and that's how you gain your CDE approval.
Can any work be completed prior to the board approving the CEQA report?
Yes.
Yes. Work can be started prior to the board approving the CEQA report?
Yes, yeah, because the demolition does not affect anything. So I apologize for that. We'll get that corrected. Then in regards to the, any other
Just,
questions?
just real quick. So, in other words, if we were actually were beginning the construction phase, that none of that work could start, but the demolition, because generally the CEQA being a part of how does it affect the community, yada yada yada. So the demolition in and of itself doesn't affect the CEQA.
No, it's going to be a notice of exemption as long as you don't do any more than 10 classrooms at a specific site. There's a class 3, a class 4, and a class 14 exemption that normally comes along with that CEQA report.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, so the cafeteria and central kitchen recommendation for award of the architecture and engineering services, that is on tonight's agenda for your approval in the action items. We're working on refining the specifications for the project. The architect has given us a preliminary, but he really can't get started until his award is approved this evening in his contract. You got a question, sir? Oh,
No.
I thought I was getting a motion to get finger up. We're working on refining the specifications for the project prior to commencement of the design process, and in conjunction, here's that bullet should actually be down here where it actually shows that we'll be going out with RFPs for survey, DTSC, CEQA, and the GEO. Those will be issued out next week, and we should bring those to the board meeting in June. Then finally, the last project, but not least, is the Main Avenue Preschool TK project. The project consisting of 6 classrooms with the ability to serve the preschool and transitional kindergarten programs. Again, this evening, there is before you the agreement with the selected firm for that. That'll be LDA Architects. That's for you, before you this evening as well. In addition, similar to the kitchen project, we'll be soliciting proposals for the professional services. Again, the same cast of characters, survey, DTSC, CEQA, and geotechnical. Those again will be brought to you before the board in June, and then separately, the site contractor and modular manufacturer those RFPs will be going out, and we hope to get those for pre-construction services also to you in June.
Right.
And going forward, we'll be presenting to you a weekly report that Superintendent Chen has requested. And so that will probably be included in the weekly board package. So you'll, instead of having a monthly update, you'll be updated weekly as to the activities that are ongoing with the projects going forward.
Okay.
Will you be giving the presentation?
I'm sorry, sir?
Will you be giving the reports?
The weekly reports, yes, they will come from me or Emilio Flores, one of the two of us. We do them in conjunction.
Any additional questions, comments? Thank you so very much. Okay, we'll now move on to school plan for student achievement update for 24-25.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we will be doing our presentation on the school plans for student achievement, but we'll be doing them a little differently than what you are used to. I'm going to give you kind of an overview of why we're doing them a little differently, and then what that will contain. But tonight we have all 5 of our school principals here in attendance to share with you their information on their school plan for student achievement. So an overview of what we're going to be talking about tonight is one is called the Additional Targeted Support for Improvement, or commonly referred to as ATSI. I'm going to give you an explanation of what that is and also the exit criteria, how to get out of ATSI. Each site principal will give a report on their school plan for student achievement. This report will entail celebrations from looking at the data, as well as areas of focus going forward from, again, looking at the data. And then at the end, we'll have a question and answer session. And I'm going to ask that, if possible, if you could all hold your questions and answers for the principals, excuse me, your questions, not your answers, your questions for the principals till after each of them have gone, because there's some overlap in some of the things that they'll be saying. So actually, the next principal might address a question you might have. Of course, it's up to your discretion. I'm just saying that in the interest of time, you might find, and then what they're going to do at the end is they're all going to be available for any questions or comments you have, okay? Okay, so what is ATSI, or Additional Targeted Support for Improvement? ATSI is an Every Student Succeeds Act criteria, and it's a federal criteria for identifying schools that may need additional targeted support. So there are 3 levels of support. There's additional targeted support and improvement, there's targeted support and improvement, and there's CSI, or comprehensive support for improvement. TSI has actually not gone into play yet. So right now there's only ATSI and CSI. So if a school is identified for ATSI, what that means that for 2 consecutive years on the California School Dashboard, they had 2 student groups that showed outcomes that they weren't making improvement. Okay, so as the principals present to you, they're going to share with you what those groups are. This is very similar to the district's designated assistance for chronic absenteeism. Designated assistance is a state level, identification is at the district level, ATSI is school level identification, and it's a federal form. There's no funding associated with ATSI designation. The criteria to be an ATSI is the same criteria as CSI. CSI happens if in that 2-year period you do not see significant improvements in those student groups that you were originally identified for. You do have to have a plan for if you are identified for ATSI. Both Title I schools and non-Title I schools can be identified for ATSI. And if you are identified, this plan can also be your school plan for student achievement. You can use that plan. There's an agreement that, in the efforts of not too many plans and, and everything aligning, ATSI can also be in your Title I school plan. Okay, so tonight, the principals will be presenting their school plans, which is going to address Title I school-wide program as well as ATSI designation. Even though it is a 2-year designation, you can exit within 1 year. So if a school site has 2 groups that are identified and both those groups make improvement within 1 year of dashboard data, they can't exit ATSI. The next identification for ATSI won't be happening until the 26 dashboard. So they'll look at 24, 25, 25, 26, and then you could be identified again for ATSI or CSI. And at the bottom here, I have the student groups for which the ATSI looks at. Any questions on that? Just because principals aren't going to be able to answer that. All good? Okay. So in today's presentation, the principals are going to present to you their plans, their school plan for student achievement. Now in the past, these presentations have been a bit larger presentations, but we also have that second time that we talk about the plans in the fall. And in the fall is really when we have the most up-to-date data. So principals are making plans for the 24-25 school year. But at this point in time, we're still looking at 22-23 data, which is exactly what happens for us with the LCAP as well. But the LCAP and the school plans are supposed to align. So that's why the timing is happening as it is. But when they give their presentations in the fall, they have more current data, and that's when they'll make any adjustments to their plan if the current data shows something completely different than what they had in their plan, or there's a significant shift. So those presentations have become a little bit more robust. So tonight's presentation is going to be a little bit smaller, and you'll be able to see everything that's in their plan. So that, as I said, they're going to talk a little bit about the celebrations of what they see in the data, and then they're going to share with you what their areas of focus are that you will find in the school plans. In addition, we have 4 of our 5 sites were identified for ATSI, Additional Targeted Support and Improvement. So they do have a slide to share with you which student groups they are identified for, and then what their actions are to address those student groups to show improvement in the area that they were identified for. And with that, we will begin with Miss Crisp in Taylor Street School.
Good evening. Like Cindy said, we are going to start off with our celebrations. The first up would be an increase in attendance. We were the district winner for attendance for both attendance contests. So we're very proud of that, and that's what that picture is. And so I think everybody showed up for that. So really happy for that. There was a huge decrease in suspensions, and I'm really proud of that because there's the continued success with our restorative room. And that's a safe space for students to come and kind of reflect on behavioral choices. It was ran by last year by our mental health specialists, and this year they helped. And then we had support from our Roberts Family Development Center and our AP. So that room is really helping students with behaviors. There was an increase in EL scores across the board, which is great. And then there was an increase in parent participation. Our mental health specialists on our site started the first ever family wellness nights. And so they came and parents were able to come and talk about how to deal with trauma or even meditation and just mental health in general. So it was really great to have them come out. We also have our parent teacher club where they participate in that. We also had a slight increase in our ELAC and school site council meetings as well. So really having their voice and how the school is functioning is very important. So we're going to increase that. The last bullet I have for our 6 celebrations, we implemented first ever math study lessons. The teachers with the help of our PLSTs participated in a PD around the 4 components of what a math lesson consists of. So the opener, the math lesson, the check for understanding, and then the independent work. And so what they did was they watched each other do the lessons, and then afterwards they debriefed. And we did 3 rounds of those this year, which is absolutely amazing. And that focus was around the math. So we're going to continue that for next year. So our areas of focus for improvement would be, even though we did increase in our attendance, the chronic absenteeism just across the board. We really need to focus on that. Additionally, our ELA and math scores, we're doing our math study lessons. We're doing what we call win time, which is what I need. It's a focused time, dedicated time, targeted time around math and ELA. We're also going to restructure our extended daytime for our primary and our tier 1 in classrooms for our intermediate students around both math and ELA. We also have a MOU with SCOE, and she's going to come in, Ku Vang's going to come in and help with our 3rd bullet, which is that reading phonics piece, and we're focusing K6. Usually phonics is K3, but in our case, we're focusing K through 6 for our kiddos that are just helping them with the phonics piece and the phonemic awareness around reading. And then the last bullet would be an increase in parent involvement. We did see some, but we would like to see even more of our parents. In addition to events, we want to see them throughout the campus, doing a plethora of things. And that is our celebrations and areas of focus and that lovely picture. Okay. So our ATSI, we were designated for chronic absenteeism for these particular groups, students with disabilities and our white students. So some evidence-based intervention strategies, again, increased attendance incentives for students. We do weekly now, we do classroom, we do individuals. We're going to continue that and maybe up it a little bit and involve our parents through outreach for parents. So we've been doing great calling parents when students are not present. And my front office staff is doing an amazing job of doing that because I'm telling, are you calling? Are you calling? Are calling? So they're doing a really great job for that, which brings us to our 2nd bullet for the outreach for parents. Again, I mentioned before, we want them on site. We would love for them to come. This year, we implemented something called a weekly reading where parents are invited to come read with their students, not just their child, but students in general in the classrooms. We're also going to continue our back to school night before school, and I think that's important because we're going to add additional community outreach organizations that are within the community. The fire department, the food bank, there's a church around the corner, some of the apartment buildings, supers have asked to come as well, so that they know that this is a collective partnership for their students, and we'll have a barbecue and music, and so they see school as a place that they want to be at for their students. And that's going to help with not only just our students with disabilities and white students, but all of the students, especially with that increase in attendance. And then our mental health SCOE collaboration, I put that down because I think the students need to also know that this school is there for them, that there are resources they can go to. There's also a parent liaison this year that worked closely with our mental health specialists and our parents, and we connected it with attendance as well. So she was able to reach out to some parents this year, and we want to increase that as well. And I think that will help with our chronic absenteeism. And again, I've used this a lot in my presentation, is that parent involvement. It's a partnership, and they're very important in this puzzle that we have here at school. And no questions. Okay. No questions. Get us later. Thank you. Thank you. Next up, Mr. Kelly.
Hey, good evening, Robla School Board, Superintendent Chen. Thank you for this opportunity to share with you. Our biggest celebration, if you've been to our school, is thanks to Nicole, it's not up there, is Jana Cooper deciding to become our secretary. She's been at Robla forever, but her taking that lead and her generosity when you come into our front office is our biggest. So if you get a theme from my presentation, I hope that you get the theme that there will be more supports next school year for students. The other celebration there is with the district support, Superintendent Chen, our AP, our assistant principal, Stephanie Croyle, is a wonderful asset for our school and efficiency. And then the last person I would like to mention to say thank you is Janet. Janet, our mental health, Marcy Basia, having that mental health clinician, has been a wonderful support for us this school year. And she's applied for 2 interns for the following school year. So our celebrations. This year, we have a very vibrant parent-teacher club that works in collaboration for family events. We had a professional DJ at our friendship dance in February. We had a well-attended fall harvest festival that's been part of Robla forever with great attendance. Our second celebration is having the highest total percentage academic growth of the 5 elementary schools. A lot of that is due to a specific team of 5th grade teachers that tutored in science and really helped us in that specific area when you look at the specifics of how it happened. We followed Taylor's lead in focusing this year. We understand, I took a class, and the whole idea of SEL being your foundational academic growth or intervention, SEL will show a 10 to 13% growth if you can do a good job with restorative practices and SEL at your school site. So we have a consultant that trained all certificated staff in restorative practices this school year. And then we implemented, like Taylor, the restorative room that's manned by myself, the mental health clinician, and the assistant principal. So students come through there that are dysregulated, and they have an opportunity to do restorative practices or zones of regulation to help them get back on track. And if you can imagine, instead of those students going back to class after recess dysregulated and the teacher losing that academic time, we try to lessen that. So our other celebration is our staff sense of belonging. If you look at the panorama data, the district's average for staff is 66%. Our school, thanks to Jana and our team, has a staff sense of belonging at 91%. Mr. Raven has been amazing in helping us improve our parent involvement this year. Mr. Raven and we all came together as a community on 2 separate nights. We showed the parents the platform, the technology platform. These are your resources to use. And then we talked about that, like Dr. Chris talked about, that community partnership between the parents and the teachers and how we're all working together. The other celebration I'd like to mention is the professional that ran strings for the district, Miss Richardson. I did her formal observation this year, and if you want to see some 5th grade boys jump up and down because they learned how to write a song and use boom whackers to make notes, that was part of her official teacher evaluation. She brings joy and sparks joy to a lot of students at our school. So she's a big celebration for us, and I would want that for every school site. So going forward, I want to tell you all a secret from my working here the last 27 years. The single most successful academic strategy goes over here to Mrs. Hall and GLAD instruction. That engaging strategy of guided language acquisition, design, and that academics propelled Bell Avenue into being the highest academic achieving school on our site. So thank you, Lisa, for that. Like, that's what our goal is, to become a complete, total GLAD school. So I'm asking staff to come a day before they come back, and we have a professional consultant that's going to come in and help us get started, and then the staff will have time to plan and build those units. So if you can imagine being at Bell and your student starts the whole year, like how the brain works and the science of it all and why it's important to learn, well, that's what it's like to be at Bell. We want that at Robla. Like, why should we do it? Like, the why. So we are going to become a GLAD school. We have 2 teachers that need training, and depending on what new teachers we have, we put money in the budget for that. We are proud to be a pilot school working with changing perspectives. This year we had 3, pretty much half of SDC at our school site, and all of us, including Mr. Caff, need to learn how to deal with students that have different needs than I've experienced in the gen ed classroom. So we're excited about that. We also have really organized data analysis from Mr. Pinman. But we need to pay specific attention to our African American students. They're our lowest performing group. So Mr. Raven and I met with a bunch of them, interviewed them. How many of you went to Robla preschool? How many of you have your library card? How many of you were read to? And we got data from those students, and we know we have to put more supports in place. So we added money in the budget specifically for tutoring African American students. So I've enrolled 3 teachers. I need 4 teachers to specifically target African American students. So those students are at grade level. SPED team meetings. So another workshop I did this year is SPED, and safety in SPED is okay, but it's not SPED. SPED is students and our team knowing their goals and them actually having academic growth. And that's what our team needs to do. We need to have more specific meetings expecting growth, and that's our bar. How am I doing, Sarah, on time? Okay, good. Okay, our ATSI, we are an ATSI for African American students. If you were looking specifically at us, we had 9 African American students that, and some of those are in the same family. So we as a staff need to know those. Suspensions, also, we had 6 African American students last year get suspended. And I talked about the chronic absenteeism. Students with disabilities, chronic absenteeism. Like I said, we have 3 SDC classes. There were 34 students that contributed to that. And I stand in front of you embarrassed because I don't know why. I attended a conference with Mr. Penman, and I talked to the SPED director there, and told me, well, you have to get them to the Harvest Festival. You have to get them to the friendship dance. And I thought to myself, you're right. Like those students need special invitation. They need special emphasis to get them there. And I mentioned about the academics. So specifically, we need a specific outreach with the special education and African American families with support from SCOE. We are switching our back to school event before school, like Dr. Chris was talking about, where there are resources for families. We know families need more resources. We, as a Robla team, need to do a better job teaching families when it's okay to come to school. So Jana and Miss Hillary are tremendous, but we as a team need a script that parents understand that they have on their fridge that tells them this is like a flow chart, when to come to school. And then we've had incentives for attendance this year, but we really have talked about as a group, there's like some families that need some bigger incentives and some students that need bigger incentives, and we have to do a better job on that. We also, Marcy Basia is going to support us in having, with the Family Navigator, Robla Family Night. So every month next year, we will have parent engagement nights with childcare. And then the last one is going to be probably my favorite, because I love Miss Hall. Thank you. But I do need to learn on different ways. We've reduced our suspensions this year, but suspensions haven't supported students. And I as a leader, have to do a better job coming up with different consequence instead of suspension, because it's a big priority for us. Questions? Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So some of our celebrations, the first one was we had an increase in our English learner proficiency performance index, and that was by 3%. So we had 40.5% of our English learners were making progress towards English. That's really hard to say 5 times fast, even just once. EL proficiency. And then we had some growth in our CASP scores in specific grade levels. So while we didn't grow as an overall site, we had some areas to celebrate specifically. So in 5th grade, our science grew by 11% in MET and exceeds. In ELA, 4th grade by 3%, in 5th grade by 10%. In math, 4th grade by 3%, 5th grade by 4%, and 6th grade by 7%. So you'll see it's also on the areas of focus for improvement, because while we had some areas of celebration, specifically, we need to have growth across the board in all grade levels. Chronic absenteeism is something that we've been working on throughout the entire school year. Our absenteeism was very high on our dashboard at the end of last year, but we have some areas of celebration, and I just want to give you some percentages so you have a sense here. So the first percentage I give you is the dashboard, and then where we are currently. So all students last year, we were at 66.8%, and currently we're at 32%. Hispanic students, 69.7, down to 33. Our homeless student group, which is our ATSI group, was at 82%, and we're down to 35. So those numbers are still high, but we've cut a lot of them in half. So we still have more work to do, which is, again, why you see it on the right-hand side. But I'm going to also mention some things that we've done in the next slide, specifically to target areas and strategies that we've found some success in. And then with SCOE, we're wrapping up year 2 of our writing project with them, and we've had a curriculum specialist who's come in and worked with our teachers in grades K through 6. And so we have our final days with that specialist, and that's just been really great work to focus on our writing instruction. And then on the other side, you'll see just parent involvement. That's just an area that we always need to improve upon. And we've done some things this year that have had some success, and then we have some things that are new that we're going to implement for next year. So our ATSI group are homeless students, and this is for chronic absenteeism and suspension. And to note, for ATSI in suspensions, the cutoff increase is 0.2%, and our increase was 0.3%. So that equates about 1 student that we're looking at here. This graph shows you the work that we did this year with our TK and K students in chronic absenteeism. And this is our group that is just one of our largest group that has chronic absenteeism. It's about 1/3 of our students when we look at our overall groups tends to be our TK and K students. And so in particular with our homeless students as well. So what we did was at the end of January, we looked at our students in TK and K who are chronically absent.
was about 21 students, and Ms. Janowitz, the assistant principal, and I, we met with those families, with their teacher as well. We sat down, we talked about what chronic absenteeism is, because a lot of our families didn't even know what that is. We talked about the importance of attendance, and we focused on a lot of other things that came to light as well. And then we ran the data again on March 22nd, which was right before we went on spring break, and we saw a 76.2% improvement in attendance of those students. So that averaged about a 4.48% decrease in absenteeism. So there was just a lot of power in having those meetings, and that over an 8-week time period, we saw a lot of improvement. So we know that we need to have these meetings a lot sooner, and that we also want to plan for some attendance classes for our families earlier in the year, because just that information was a lot of power for our families and to share that knowledge with them. And so we're going to plan some attendance classes for our parents about why it's important to send them to school. We have a lot of incentives that we do for our students, and we have found those to be very motivating. We have our raffles, just not for perfect attendance, but we also want to honor improved attendance like we did with our families. And we do attendance calendars. We do have our SARB contracts, but we're trying to just find a variety of ways to get kids excited about coming to school. And then we're changing up, like you heard, for Taylor and for Robla. We're doing our back to school night before school starts. Typically that's happened the 2 weeks into the school year. And so we've decided as a staff that's going to happen on August 12th. Because if we can get families onto campus and getting familiar with the campus, with their classroom, meeting staff, those are just going to build those connections that much sooner and decrease, lower that anxiety about where's my classroom, who's my teacher, where do I drop off my child in the morning, where does the bus get, all of those things that parents worry about and that students worry about. It's also going to allow families to see a lot of the services that we provide as a district as well, in particular that can support a lot of our families who have to navigate homelessness. And so there's Hazel Health that they can sign up for. They can see our nutrition program. They can see, some families don't know that we have transportation. So they can get ready for transportation and understand that we have busing for them. They can get to sign up for START. So if we can have all of those services available for them to get to learn about and sign up for, we can have those available before the first day of school even starts for them. And then we have a really strong MTSS process at Main Avenue. And so this is where we're looking at students academically and behaviorally and what their needs are. And so just for example, today, as we're wrapping up the year, the Tier 2 team met, and we just focused specifically on where we are in supporting our students' behavioral needs. And we do something called the Tiered Fidelity Inventory as a team. And so this is an assessment that we do to evaluate where are we doing really well and where are areas that need attention and need focus. And so we walked through as a team today to go very specifically to look at those areas. And then that helps us drive our work for next year. And then we, like everyone else, we have a Scoy mental health clinician that's been very valuable to have this year. They do a lot of outreach also with our families who have to navigate, again, homelessness. And then we had our assistant principal and our social worker just went with Director Horowitz to a conference that focused on homelessness in McKinney-Vento. And so what we're going to get out of that, we can use to drive some of our work and supports for our families next year. Okay. Any questions?
Wait until the end.
I know, but I have to ask. They have the right.
Hi, good evening. Alrighty, so Glenwood is celebrating our LPAC scores, which I assume everyone knows LPAC, but I'm going to say anywhere English learner proficiency assessment of California. So our scores have increased, but also 100% of our kiddos got tested. So that's a celebration, especially since we have the highest population of EL students within the district. I'm proud to say that we had increased parent engagement and participation. This year we focused a lot on celebrating the diversity on our campus and within our community. And so rebranding like our Harvest Festival to be our Dia de los Muertos event, and then doing a multicultural event and showcasing a lot more of student work and the after school program, the remix dance that we offer in the district, showcasing our students' participation there as well. And so we've seen a large increase with parents being involved that way, also providing space for them to participate with the Read Across America program, where we had parents come to site and read to our kiddos. And then we also saw an ELA point increase per grade level. So that happened across the board for all of our kiddos that were tested. And so that was a big celebration from us from last year to this year. And we saw that increase. So for moving forward, our areas for focus for improvement, specifically for ELA for English language, we're looking at writing. And so when we drill down, our ELA scores shifted, but when we look specifically what about ELA, so the English language specifically, we're finding that writing is affecting our students across all grade levels. And so and the student group that affected the most was our homeless students. And so we are looking to do deeper intervention support. We're changing up our intervention strategies for the upcoming year and what that looks like. We're moving into a more inclusive model. So that looks like a push and support and also consistency across the grade levels. So more collaboration amongst grade level teams. Our math scores, they lowered across grade levels, not significantly, but we're not moving up. And so drilling down there as well, we're noticing through classroom observations and through our instructional rounds that we conducted this year, we're noticing that it's work problems that are really hanging up our kids, which then goes back to associated ELA, is their reading and writing skills. They're not able to transfer those skills within ELA into a math environment, so it's affecting them. We're kind of getting a double whammy in regards to where it's affecting them through their assessments. So that'll be an area for improvement. Our suspension rates, they're still low, but there was a small increase. It was a 0.9%, and it's affecting our highest demographic area, which is our Hispanic students. So we're looking at, again, taking a lead from Taylor Street, more restorative practices, being creative, as Darren had mentioned, in regards to the way that we are having conversations with our students, really bringing in our community and looking at resources, because suspension just takes them away from campus, which results in more absenteeism and away from academics. So finding alternate means to correct that behavior in a more reflective way. And then speaking of chronic absenteeism, working to meet the needs of our homeless families. So we have a lot of newcomers this year. And then also there's just a lot of transiency within our population. So finding those community resources to assist them, offering transportation, offering those resources. Fortunately for our families within Robla, our district provides a lot of resources, but making sure that we're connecting it to them on a consistent basis and checking in with them. So we don't have an ATSI status, but I wanted to update you on some things that you can expect from us through our SIPSA. As a site, we are having 11, including myself, staff members be trained in AVID, which stands for Advancement via Individual Determination. So I knew about this with my previous district, and I thought it was only for a secondary setting. And then lo and behold, it's also wonderful for our elementary students. So long story short, AVID teaches students how to be better students. So you can find the best curriculum in the world and try the best strategies, but they don't understand how to organize and what to do with that information. And it really focuses on college and career. So they associate those things with long-term goals. And we start that with TK all the way up to 6. So there are strategies that we're going to be implementing as a Free Sure site. We're doing a summer institute, again, with 11 staff members. It's here in Sacramento. It's 3 days at the end of June. And I strategically chose a lead from each grade level, as well as our EL specialist and our intervention specialists. And myself and our assistant principal will be attending to ensure that we're all aligned and rolling it out. And I also strategically chose a balance between our English only educators and our DLI educators to make sure that all of our students are being met and that they're collaborating. I did a school site visit locally with Natomas Unified. They have a elementary school there that completely rolled out Avid, their showcase school. And so I got to talk to those teachers, and I visited about 16 different classrooms and got to see from TK to 6 what that looked like and how it's just helped students academically. I did question whether they do have a DLI site that they're working with within Sacramento County, and they don't yet. So we would actually be the first to do that, which I'm really, really excited about. And our goal is to be a showcase school and the first for Robla. Speaking of which, once our staff goes through those that are involved in TCI, and then once we get Avid trained, we're doing like kind of a workshop. It's a couple days with the DLI staff to be able to take all the information so that we don't start the year unprepared. A lot of what our DLI team does is have to translate that information so it's relatable to our Spanish speaking students who are in who predominantly get educated in the Spanish language first. And so we're taking a couple days over summer in July to backwards map and create long-term goals that align to our district initiatives and our new Avid program. And then I just put a couple pictures on here in regards to our goals upcoming to be more of a community school, have the community come in, bring in some more community resources. We tried to bring in a lot of different resources this year, classroom visits, things like that. For our African American History Month, each class picked a different notable figure, and the one locally, Milton Bowen, he actually just moved to the South, but he actually came to kinder class. He's a local artist and activist, and he came to the class and did an art lesson with our kinder kids. So just more of those things. Recognizing our students for academics. So there's Ms. Tran for our academic assemblies, and then aligning things school-wide in regards to academics as well. So as you can see down the corner, we're trying to find ways to show students to do things in 2 languages and make sure it's streamlined across the whole campus. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I have my notes. These guys seem to be able to just, talk off the top of their head, but I am not that person. So I have a lot of notes here. We're going to start with the celebrations. Academic. So this year we saw an increase in our math scores, and we showed a positive 15-point growth towards standards in the area of math, and a positive 5-point growth towards standard in the area of English language arts. And in math, the most significant change was the percentage of students that fell at the lowest level. They say standards not met. So we were able to decrease that band of kids by 8%. So what that tells us is that we're supporting our most challenged students. So we saw a lot of kids kind of move up a level. So we have a bigger middle, but they're still at standards almost met, which is not good enough. We know that. Bell was grateful to have retained our technology teacher position this year. We didn't have one the previous year. And I think some of the other sites did, but this year we were able to retain that position. And in order to better support our science at our school site, we gave technology teacher a facelift in that we made him the science, tech, engineering, and media arts teacher. He is not an enrichment teacher, so that means that the teacher, Mr. Weeks, is currently our STEM teacher. He works in collaboration with the general education teachers. So when he's teaching a lesson, the general education teacher, whether it's a first or second grade teacher, they're in the classroom with him. So it's a team approach. The reason why we were so focused on science is the previous year we were at a 25% at or above grade level in science in the previous year, and last year we fell to 11%. It was shocking. So we really, really wanted to ramp up our science at our school site and ensure that everyone was receiving appropriate science instruction. So So at this point, our science teacher has been collaborating with grade level teachers. He joins their PLCs, and then what he does is he's teaching the hands-on part of the science lessons or the science standards. All of our science is coordinated through our GLAD units, so it's all integrated into our GLAD units. So our students are for example, beginning of the year unit is the brain in 6th grade. It's actually called growth mindset. So it's a cell unit. It's also a social emotional learning unit, as well as it's a unit about how your brain works. So there's quite a bit of science in that unit. And, but there's also a lot of reading, a lot of writing, and a lot of social emotional learning as well. So you can see how it can become integrated. Engagement is extremely high in the science lab with 2 teachers available and hands-on activities happening. We've observed a lot of excitement about science and learning, and students have become more curious about the world around them. We did not have a single disciplinary issue result from the science lab this year, not a single one. And we often have discipline coming out of classrooms, but not that classroom, not a single time this year. We are also celebrating our suspension rate. The California dashboard data reports that we were at a 1.6% last year, which was about a 1% lower than the previous year. I would also like to highlight that our panorama survey results show that parents are reporting that they feel safer at our school site, which I'm very proud of, because I think safety is the #1 priority on a school site. And I believe that this is partially due to the renovated campus and the change in the location of the office. It's just it's a lot more visible. It's easier to access. People know where it is. I also think that our staff is a lot more visible because of the way that the campus is set up. We have made a big effort to make sure that we're visible early in the morning when students are arriving and when parents are arriving or grandparents are arriving, and then at the end of the day as well, and then obviously throughout the day. We are also highly focused on working out our safety plan for this new school site, because our school is a new building and a new layout. We've really had to talk a lot about what that would look like, and that's still a work in progress, but it is, again, it's our #1 priority at our school site. Areas for focus. We are highly focused on chronic absenteeism, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that on the next slide when we talk about ATSI. We've also struggled a little bit with parent involvement, not so much in the family nights. Those are very well attended and people are there, but what we struggle with are parents participating in meetings like ELAC meeting and school site council, things like that. I have to check in with Mr. Raven, maybe he has some tips, but we've been struggling to get, we have attendance, but it's hard to get the same people to attend. So that's been very tricky for us. And I don't know if it's because of work schedules and things like that. We've been talking to parents and trying to figure out what is the best time, and our parents don't work what people would assume to be a typical work schedule. And so it is often tricky to find a time where we can get the same folks in the room at the same time. Though we are celebrating our gains on our CAS scores, we know that we still have a long way to go for student achievement. Our staff chose to focus on reading comprehension this year in grades 3 through 6 and phonics instruction in TK through 2, because that is where we have the most room to grow. And we also feel like that is an area that touches all academic subjects. And in looking back at our really, big dip in our science scores last year, we also noticed that particular group of students had very low reading comprehension scores. And so we could see that the two of them, there was a correlation between the two. We're also seeing the correlation in math,
when we talk about math word problems, that seems to be a big struggle for many students. And it again, it ties back to reading and understanding what am I reading and what are they asking me to do. So similar to what Dr. Chris was talking about when she was talking about math rounds, we've been doing reading comprehension rounds or reading phonics rounds. And the teachers worked as a group to make decisions on what should you see in a reading lesson, in a reading comprehension lesson, and a reading phonics lesson. And they've been visiting each other's classrooms and then having discussions afterwards. I think it's really powerful to have teachers, be able to see their colleagues teach. They really enjoy it. And I think they're learning, they get a lot out of it. Let's see. This year, we've been very successful ensuring that science instruction is happening regularly, TK through 6th grade. And we know that the teachers are working to hit as many of the next generation science standards as possible. Working science into our schedule is a struggle, but GLAD is really, really helped with that because of the integration. And so one of the things that I want to highlight is that student engagement. I think when students are engaged in their learning and they take ownership over their learning and they're excited about it, it helps with attendance, it helps with suspensions, and it helps with any disciplinary issues. And so one of the things that the reason I have student engagement over on this side as far as an area for improvement is I think it will always be an area of improvement because I think it's the key to running to everything else that happens at a school site. Okay, unfortunately, our school has been identified for ATSI. The category we were identified for is chronic absenteeism, specifically for our homeless students and students with disabilities. Below is the comparison chart for attendance last year and our attendance for this year currently. So the gray is last year, and the orange is this year, the 23-24 school year. And you can see that we are already making progress and chipping away at that chronic absenteeism. However, again, the numbers are still pretty high. 20% chronic absenteeism, that's a pretty high number. So we're working on that. We have a lot of strategies in place. Our front office staff works really hard. They call every absent student every time they're absent. So they call the home of every absent student for every single day, and document. We are strictly adhering to the SART and STAR process. I think parents, though that process can seem pretty overwhelming, I think for families, I think there's a lot of positives that can come from it, and there's a lot of conversations that lead to supports that the school district can offer, and that can then often will help solve some of the problems that they're having with getting their kids to school. Connecting with students that are chronically absent, and I mean school staff connecting with those students and ensuring that we know why they're absent, and they know that when they're not at school, they are missed. That is really important. So teachers reaching out to kids if they're missing school, other staff members reaching out to kids. I know our kitchen staff is very actively involved in our school. And when they notice somebody wasn't there, the next day, Miss Danielle for sure will say, I missed you yesterday. I'm glad to see you today. And I think that really, really helps kids feel like people notice when they're not around. And then creating incentives such as contests, prizes, contests and prizes to work for, recognition for improvement. Some of the other things that are not on this slide are our social workers. They're very actively involved in our MTSS process and our SART and SART process. And then they're also providing services for our students that are struggling with social emotional things or personal issues from home. And I appreciate Janet so much for really helping us beef up our social workers. I just, it's made such a huge difference this year to have this SCOE intern on campus, and having a full-time social worker on campus this year has really made a huge difference. So I really appreciate that. And I think that is it. And I don't want to ask if there's any questions because, okay.
Okay, so each principal has given an overview of what they're focusing on, the work that they've been doing. You now have their school level plans, school level plans in your board packet for your perusing for the next month. We had only one board meeting in May, so we needed to condense down. I hope this format worked for you. I'd love to hear your feedback on the format. But before that, do you have any questions for our principals?
I don't have any questions, but I want to say I love your celebrations, and I hope that you are extending those celebrations so that way all the students and all the other staff members are aware that you have noticed the effort they've put in and that you are celebrating their success.
I have questions.
Okay.
Ms. Hall, why are your suspension rates? Yes, why are your suspension rates down?
What?
Why are your suspension rates down? What contributed to that?
Well, I don't think, I don't know if you can say it's like one exact thing. And I mean, I think personally, I think it goes back to what I was saying, which is the student engagement. I feel like the students being actively involved in their learning in the classroom is really helpful. I know with GLAD, because of the style of instruction that it is, the kids are up and moving in the classroom. They're not at their seats, they're up, they're moving to groups, they're working on posters or whatever they're doing. I think it's a mobile way of teaching. Kids are up and about. I think that the after school opportunities like soccer or art club is hugely popular. The tutoring that's happening, the extra library hours are really popular. I think things like that, the field trips, I think I've spent every penny of my field trip budget this year. The kids have been all over the place, and we still have one more big trip coming up with kids going to Mendocino for 4 days. I'm holding that over the sixth graders' heads, just get them through the year because they can be really challenging right now, heading off into seventh grade. So I think it's a lot of different things. I think it's all of the incentives and the price, just all of it. But I think really in the end, it's just about kids feeling like they're a part of a community and they're part of our Tiger family. And I think suspension, and also we have to keep in mind that our suspension rates usually are pretty low in general. We don't have all of our schools, we don't have really high suspension rates. And typically the suspension rates can be attributed to just a few kids, typically. So it could sometimes be just a particular student has, moved on to seventh grade or something like that too. But we do have situations where a particular student or just a few students are racking up a suspension rate for one school site. So it is really interesting to see the breakdown of suspensions and who those kids are. And typically it's not like you don't have 20 kids that are dealing with suspensions. We have probably all of us have maybe under 7 kids dealing with suspensions. So it's kind of, but I think it's all about student engagement.
Okay. No, don't go. Wait, hold on. You said, okay, you mentioned absenteeism specifically for homeless students and disabilities,
Mhm.
and you said you were calling and figuring out why. Why them?
We call every student at Bell Avenue every day if they're absent. So if they are marked or if they're marked absent, we personally call.
So why are they absent? I mean, what are the
Well,
reasons for
I
being-
think homeless students deal with sometimes a lack of transportation. They're not always in the same household where, they're not always even living in our district because homeless students are tied to the district where they became homeless. So we have students that maybe even live in Rancho Cordova or some far away and they're trying to get to school every day. That can be really challenging for students. And I think for students with disabilities, and I know Darren, for me, I think because my primarily my SDC class is that they're very young students that are have a lot of health issues, and so during the winter months, it is challenging for parents to bring their students to school, and they get sick very easily. So that's something that we've been really working hard on and trying to work with our school nurse. She's very actively involved in with some of the students that I have on my campus. But I also think Darren made a really good point in that we need to be personally reaching out to the families of those students to make sure that know that they should be coming to our events and make a bigger effort to make sure they're included in our school community and our school family.
Mm-hmm. Both you and Ms. Rodriguez mentioned homeless students. What kind of resources are we providing for homeless students?
Well, we have a liaison in our district that is specific to homeless students, and Maggie will bring, if we call and say somebody needs shoes or clothing or transportation, our social workers also work to try to figure out how to best support the students and what they need. We always, we do a great job of providing 3 meals a day for our students, so we do that. And then I think the counseling piece of that. So many of our homeless students are also receiving counseling or therapy on campus. But I think transportation and then just the stability in their lives, they're not always in the same place. They're not necessarily in a, like the routines that we have support us showing up to work and to school on time. And I think for our homeless students, they are not in the same routine every day. And so it makes it really challenging and really difficult to keep a routine. So we try to, and every family is different. Every family's needs are different. So through our conversations with families, and we're making the phone calls, or they're coming in for meetings, or we're checking in on kids that aren't regular attenders, we learn a lot, and then we try to connect them to the resources that they need.
You mentioned that you're developing a safety plan, and you also talked about safety where the concern for safety was down. What was it a problem before?
I don't think it was I think it was noticed. I don't think it was a problem before as far as there were unsafe things happening on campus, but I think people are reporting that they feel safer on campus. And I think that is, I think that is due to the way that the campus is situated. The fencing has really helped out a lot because we used to have some open areas on campus where it was easy to get on our campus. And I just think that the visibility of staff really helps because you see in the mornings when parents are coming in and parents are leaving at the end of the day, the staff is very visible. So it, to me, it feels safer, but I noticed in our panorama survey that the parents are reporting that they feel like the campus is safer. It's updated too. So that, that in itself really helps.
You said you're developing a safety plan?
We are working on it. I mean, we have a basic, evacuation, those basic types of things in place, but we have some work to do still because of the campus, the way that the campus changed. Everything kind of, people's classroom, everything is in a different location. So that took a little bit of work. We're still working on it. We're still trying to find a location for evacuation. So.
Are there any other concerns or anything?
That's probably our biggest one, and I think that is probably a challenge for all of the school sites because of the locations of the schools. There aren't agencies or places that are big enough to safely. Again, you don't want to evacuate into another situation that wouldn't be safe for kids, right? To safely take on 400 kids quickly if they needed to. So I think all of the schools, that's something that's a concern for all of us. And we've been reaching out to different organizations in our neighborhood. Like we've reached out to the Food Links across the street because they have a really big campus that might work because not only is it Bell, it's preschool comes with Bell. So we're a one campus school. And so finding a location, and I think like Maine, I think, I don't know about Robla, but I think that this is something we've been talking about, like churches, places like that where they could safely go and be reunited with their families if they needed to be.
Thank you.
Sure.
I don't know that I necessarily had questions or comments. One, I like this format. And what I like about it is it gives us an opportunity to hear from each school site and compare and contrast, and take a look at common themes and common solutions, but also look at unique themes and unique solutions. And I think we saw a lot of that here. And I appreciated a lot of the common themes, a lot of the chronic absenteeism, because once again, we see that as a district-wide challenge. I also very much appreciated the emphasis on parental involvement. A lot of folks talked about parental involvement. One of the things we did, we were at a Sacramento County School Boards Association get together. I want to say it was either last year or this year, but one of the things that we recognized was we always talk about parental involvement and not enough about parental engagement. So we talk about communicating to parents and families. We talk about trying to get them to show up, but we don't talk enough about how are we going to engage them in the educational process as our partners in it, whether it's at the policy level, as a part of the various different organizations that they work, whether it's the school site council or parent-teacher organizations, or engaging them in volunteering and being a part of the classroom, coming into the classroom and engaging and working with students, or just working with their own children at home in terms of helping them learn and understand the process of reviewing the curriculum. And I remember at that meeting we talked about, we wanted to make sure that as we go forward, when we talk about parental involvement, that we focus on the concept of engagement. So I think as we go forward, I really do want to make sure that that's something that we're talking about. Not just how are we talking to parents, not just how are we getting them to show up, but how are we engaging them in the educational process? Because as we do that, as they're more engaged, I firmly believe that their children, their students will be more engaged. So that was one point I wanted to make. I also really, what I liked also about this was I liked both the celebrations and the talk about focus on the future, because when you go back and you look at the plans from last year, there were things that were recognized as areas that needed to be focused last year, where you can see the positive results that it had because you decided to focus on it. And you can see the positive results, and it just manifested in the celebrations that you talked about this year. which tells us that as we recognize where we need to do additional work, if we apply ourselves and we actually focus on and use the data to solve those, to address those problems, it actually works. And once again, I really appreciate it. And I think each and every principal did a good job of, okay, we saw this macro problem, we saw how it broke down in the numbers, and then we applied specific solutions or interventions in order to address it. And some of them were common to the school sites, and some of them were unique to different school sites, which told me you were, once again, you were looking at the data and you were focusing on where you needed to address it. So I just want to say thank you, and I want to say congratulations. We also recognize that while we are improving, we are not where we want to be, but we have all the trust and confidence in the world that you're going to help us get there. You are our field generals, and we very much appreciate you and the work that you're doing.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to say the same, that I think you can tell that this is a very dedicated group of individuals who put a lot of heart and work into their jobs and really care for the students that are here in the Robla School District. So I too want to thank them for all the work they do and how they've really not only the work to make a difference for the children, but addressing the things that even the state is making us look at, but applying it in a way that is student focused.
Very much. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to the consent agenda. I will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, now we're going to move on to action items. A is approve agreement to provide laboratory of record services with Universal Engineering Sciences for the Bell Avenue Preschool and Transitional Kindergarten Classroom Construction Project. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move forward to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. B, approve agreement to provide inspector of record services with Kenco Construction Services, Inc. for the Bell Avenue Preschool and Transitional Kindergarten Classrooms Construction Project.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move forward to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item C, approve agreement for architectural services with LDA Partners for the Main Avenue new preschool and transitional kindergarten classroom construction project.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I have a question. Sure. This pertains to this and the next item. Are these typical contracts or so?
Yeah, this is the this one and the following is the we shared before, part of the facilities that we did interviews of the architects, and so this is for the main avenue already starting. So this is what it is. So yeah, it's very common.
These amounts are fairly, I mean, like if we go over to Twin Rivers or Potomac and they're doing stuff, they're typical amounts.
Yeah. So in this, maybe you will answer that question better. So, but I could just share that we interviewed three companies, and this was for this one we interviewed. Yeah. So you can reply to that.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, to address your question in regards to item C, we negotiated a lower fee with LDA Partners for this particular project than he had actually submitted with his RFP. So this amount is actually lower. He was the lowest of the three respondents for the Main Avenue project, and then we negotiated the fee even further down.
Yeah, I'm asking because I mean, outside of this, I don't get much experience in
Yeah,
construction.
yeah. And typically, architecture fees will range. There's what's called the OPSC, which is the Office of Public School Construction. They have what's called the sliding scale. It starts at 11%, goes down to 9, and depending on the size of the project. This project is small enough. We like to see not more than 6%. We negotiated this down to almost 5%.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
And I have a clarifying question. And I guess this is for Mr. Geraldo, knowing that we have these potential budget cuts coming, this project is not going to be impacted by the new governor's budget.
That's what we, as I presented, and that's what we know this, and it's not because this is part of we got approval to work on this project as part of this year budget. So this is not part of the next budget. So the project that we were thinking about doing for the other schools, we cannot do that anymore because those has been stopped at this point.
Make sure I understand. Thank you.
That's what I understand. That's a great question.
Thank you.
Superintendent asked me that right away, for instance.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll move forward to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item D, approve agreement for architectural services with Arcadis for the central kitchen cafeteria at Bell Avenue Elementary School construction project.
So moved. Second?
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move forward to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item E, approve service agreement with Top Stitch Fashion Entrepreneurship Program at Glenwood Elementary.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Discussion?
Yeah, this is just a program part of our ELOP. It is at Glenwood. It's open to all sixth graders from all schools. It is a sewing project, I would say. It's held at Glenwood because of the materials. We don't want to transport the sewing machines to all the other schools, but it is open to all schools. It's a 5-week program, 2 hours a week. And so we want to test it out this year and see if it's something that we want to bring back next year.
And to be clear, that being open also means that we work on helping provide transportation.
Yes.
Any discussion or debate? Hearing none, we'll move forward to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item F, approve Helen Institute Summer at the Institute Summer Camp Program.
So moved.
Second?
Moved in second. Discussion?
Yes, this is a program that we're adding. I mentioned before that we have an academic piece. Our summer program did not include sixth graders. In prior history, it didn't include sixth graders because sixth graders would go to their next school. So I'm new. I wasn't sure what the process is. I wanted to make sure that we offered something to our sixth graders. So this primary target is for sixth graders, but we are looking at the numbers. I'm super excited. We have over 274 students signed up right now, and I have a limited number of staff still working on it, but we might be speaking with parents to see if the fifth graders would move to Helen's program with the sixth graders. At least it'll help prepare them for the following year so we can accommodate our 274 plus that's increasing every day for our summer program.
Any additional discussion?
No, but I'm excited about how excited the kids seem.
Yes.
I have a quick question. I don't know if it's off topic or not, but is Roberts Family Development also hosting a program at Robla?
Absolutely, yes. So Robert's Family Development is at Robla Elementary, and their contract is for up to 160 students. And then all the other programs are at Maine. The START program will, I don't want to say service, provide a program for the students after our academic piece for the first 3 weeks, and then they are open to take all the students who participated for the last 2 weeks for the complete 9 hours. So yes.
But and then during the academic year, is Freedom Schools at Robla or just at Taylor?
Taylor.
Okay. Any additional discussion or debate? Hearing none, we'll move forward to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item G, approve service agreement with Learning Genie, PK, for 24-25 school year.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion?
The next two items, the first one, G, is for pre-K, and the second one, H, is for TK. This is a contract for Learning Genie. It is a pilot that we plan to use for the 24-25 school year. It is a program that helps us, capture, document, and sort all the information for our DRDPs, right? So it will help staff, we have to do DRDP testing twice a year, and then they have to take anecdotal data. And a normal process is everything is handwritten, taken a picture, put in a student file. This is a program that will help us sort, collect, and help prepare the reports. Okay. I'm looking at Ms. Salceda just in case you have more questions.
So what we currently use for our other grades isn't necessarily conducive to TK or pre-K, I'm assuming. So that's why we're adding this.
Well, pre-K and TK are the only two grade levels that have to take DRDP.
Oh, okay.
That is our assessment.
Got it.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Any additional discussion or debate? Hearing none, we'll move forward to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item H, approve service agreement with Learning Genie for TK 24-25 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion or debate? Hearing none, we'll move forward to a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item I, approve teacher induction program MOU with SCOE for the 24-25 school year.
So moved.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion or debate? Hearing none, we'll move forward to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. We're on to Section 9, board member requests for future agenda items or reports. Trustee Devine?
Nothing at this time.
Trustee Cardona?
Nothing to request.
Trustee Hamilton, start.
Have another comment or question. Sorry. Knowing that we are moving forward with Parent Square, I'd be interested to know how it helps with chronic absenteeism, to see if that system is going to help us be able to notify parents and things of that nature.
Trustee Barnes?
Nothing.
And I have nothing. And with that, we're now at Section 10, which is adjournment. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you for watching. All right. I will be right back. Ugh.